Hey listener, welcome back to the channel where we tell real lifestyle stories about betrayal, money, and the quiet kind of justice that doesn't need screaming to hit hard. If you're new here, tap like, subscribe, and tell me in the comment what country you think from because it genuinely helps the channel reach more people. And just so you know, names, places, and a few identifying details have been changes for privacy.
Now let me tell you about the day I realized I'd been a father for 21 years to a daughter who decided I wasn't special enough to exist. My name is Graham Cole. I'm 52, and for most of my adult life I believed I was the steady hand behind a kid who wasn't mine by blood, but was mine in every way that matters. At least, that's what I told myself. I run a small chain of laundromats and dry clean counters, 5 locations spread across the greater Valemont area. Nothing glamorous, but honest work that paid the bills and gave me the kind of stability I promised a little girl when she was still small enough to sleep on my shoulder in the back of a car. Her name is Mia, and I met her when she was barely 3, right after her mother, Renee Caldwell, decided motherhood wasn't the life she wanted and walked out like she was stepping away from a boring party. Renee vanished for years at a time after that. She missed birthdays, school plays, parent meetings, all of it while I stayed. I learned how to pack lunches, how to calm nightmares, how to sit through dance recitals, how to pretend I wasn't terrified every time she had a fever, and how to smile, clap, and tell her she was brilliant even when she wanted to quit something for the 3rd time. I paid for braces, books, tuition, a laptop, a car, and therapy sessions when she hit a rough patch in her teens. Later, when she was an adult, I kept paying because I told myself that's what support looks like. I didn't just help, I covered everything. Rent, insurance, phone plan, the kinds of monthly costs most people don't think about until they're the ones drowning in them. I even paid the deposit for the wedding venue she'd been planning for later, because for months she treated my dining table like her command center, spreading out seating charts, vendor contracts, fabric swatches, and little wedding notebooks like my home existed to keep her life running. And then one random Tuesday morning, all of that cracked. I stopped by her apartment in Valemont's Old Town to drop off a box of things she'd left at my place after her last visit. I knocked, waited, knocked again. Mia opened the door with her phone in her hand and pajama pants on, even though it was almost 11. Behind her, I saw moving boxes stacked high, like she was preparing to disappear. That was new. She hadn't said a word about moving. "Hey," she said, and her eyes slid past mine like looking at me was extra effort. "Thanks for bringing that." I handed her the box, still trying to keep my tone warm, still trying to be the version of myself she used to need. "Of course, sweetheart," I said. Then I tried to laugh lightly, like I wasn't already feeling something off. "I was checking my calendar earlier. You still haven't told me the final wedding date, and I need to make sure I don't schedule anything with the shops that weekend." She glanced down at her screen, then back up at me, and something crossed her face. Not guilt exactly, more like irritation, like I'd asked a stupid question. "Oh," she said, too casual, too quick. "That was yesterday. Just a small thing. Only special people." For a second I didn't understand English anymore. My arms were still half raised from handing over the box, like my body didn't get the message my brain was trying to process. "Yesterday," I repeated, slow, because saying it out loud made it more real. She nodded and started turning away, already done with me. "Yeah, civil ceremony, then dinner. You know how it is." No, I didn't know how it was. I didn't know anything. "Special people," I said again, tasting the words like broken glass. She shrugged, like it was nothing. "Mostly Dylan's family. And my mom. We didn't want a big show. Her mom, Renee. The woman who left when Mia was 3, who resurfaced occasionally like a bad commercial, smiling for a photo, and then vanishing again. Renee got invited. Me? I got treated like a delivery guy who brought a package to the wrong address. I wanted to explode. I wanted to demand an explanation. I wanted to ask her how she could erase me so cleanly after everything I'd done. But her posture, the way she already had her back to me, and the impatience in her voice told me she'd made a choice a long time ago. Any words I gave her would only bounce off. So I did something I'd never done with Mia in my life. I said nothing. I forced out, "I see," in a flat voice that didn't sound like me. She paused for half a heartbeat, like she sensed something strange in my tone, but her phone buzzed, and that tiny moment evaporated. "I've got to handle this," she said, stepping inward. "Thanks again, Graham." The door closed softly. No Islam, no drama. Just closed like I was nothing. I walked back to my van and sat there for a long time, hands on my thighs, staring at the dashboard. I didn't cry. I didn't hit the steering wheel. I just felt something fundamental break, like a support beam inside my chest finally snapped. 21 years of being her dad, and I didn't even know she got married. That night I sat in my office and opened my laptop, not to beg, not to chase her, but to look at the truth in numbers. I pulled up the folder where I kept every major payment connected to Mia. Rent transfers, tuition fees, car costs, insurance, and the venue deposit I'd paid the month before. 3,200 euros for a wedding I wasn't even told about. I stared at that line item until my eyes burned, then opened a new document and typed a title like I was building a business plan, Account Closure. If I wasn't special enough to witness the biggest day of her life, then maybe I wasn't special enough to keep financing it. Maybe it was time Mia learned what it feels like to stand on her own 2 feet instead of standing on my wallet. The next morning I didn't call her. I didn't text her. For the first time in 2 decades, I let silence fill the space between us, and the terrifying part was this. She didn't notice, or if she did, she didn't care. My phone didn't ring. I went to work like always, checked in on the shops, reviewed the books, took calls from suppliers. But every spare second I kept going back to that spreadsheet, because when you put all the support on one screen, it stops looking like love and starts looking like dependency. Her apartment in the city, 1,150 euros a month, and I'd been paying it for nearly 3 years. Her car payment, 375 euros a month, and the car was still in my name because it was easier. And the biggest one, the one I'd been proud of at the time, I cleared her remaining student loans the previous year, 14,500 euros in one shot, because I wanted her to start adulthood without chains. Then there were the automatic extras I'd set and forgotten. Phone, subscriptions, little payments that quietly kept her comfortable. I wasn't supporting her. I was maintaining her. My business partner, Marcus Reed, noticed I was off. We were in the main office going over quarterly projections when he set down his coffee and said, "Graham, you okay? You've been staring at that screen like it's going to confess something." Marcus had been with me more than a decade. He'd watched Mia grow up. I said, "Mia got married," with no emotion. His face lit up at first. "That's great. When was it? Where'd they do it?" I looked at him. I wasn't there. His smile died. "What do you mean you weren't there?" "I wasn't invited," I said. "She told me it was for special people." Marcus just stared, then leaned forward and lowered his voice like he didn't want the walls to hear. "You raised that kid. You're the only father she's ever had." I turned the laptop so he could see the simplified list. Apparently, I'm not special enough. I've paid for everything. And she decided I rank below the woman who abandoned her. Marcus's jaw tightened. "What are you going to do?" "I'm stopping it," I said. "Today." He lifted his eyebrows. "That's big, Graham." "She made the first move," I said calmly. "I'm just aligning reality with the relationship she's chosen. If I'm not family for the important moments, I'm not family for the monthly bills." Marcus nodded slowly. "Then brace yourself. The second the money stops, she's going to feel it." "That's the point," I said. That afternoon, I started cutting cords. I called my accountant and removed Mia from the company health coverage. I logged into online banking and canceled the scheduled rent transfer. I stopped the auto debit on the car payment. I removed her from the family phone contract. One by one, I shut down the invisible pipes that had been feeding her life. My finger hovered over the last one, the emergency credit card linked to my account, the one I'd given her just in case. There was about 120 euros on it. I clicked cancel. Done. I didn't feel triumph. I didn't feel rage. I felt something colder and more certain, like flipping a switch in a machine that had been running without permission. Mia wanted to decide who mattered. Fine. Now she'd learn what happens when you decide someone doesn't. A week after the wedding I wasn't invited to, Mia and Dylan hosted a celebratory brunch. I only found out because Dylan's aunt, a sharp-eyed woman named Marjorie, tagged me by accident in a photo on social media before untagging me fast, but it was too late. The place was called the Green Courtyard, one of those trendy, organic spots with exposed brick and overpriced drinks. In the picture, Mia sat like a queen at the head of a long table, Dylan beside her, both glowing. Around them were maybe 20 people, his family, friends I didn't recognize. And there, a few seats down, was Renee, my ex, hair perfect, nails done, wearing a dress that screamed expensive, playing mother of the bride like she'd been present the whole time. I zoomed in on another photo. Dylan was standing with a glass raised, giving a toast. The caption read, "To the family who always believed in us." I believed in Mia when she wanted to quit school midway and switch paths. I believed in her when she changed her major 3 times. I believed in her when she took a low-paying marketing job instead of the corporate position I'd lined up an interview for. Renee believed in herself. That's it. I set the phone down and went to my office, opened the safe where I kept important documents, and pulled out a box filled with 21 years of memories. School notes, dance programs, adoption paperwork, photos of Mia at every age. Most of them included me, teaching her to ride a bike, holding her at graduation, helping her move into her first apartment. At the bottom was a photo of her at 8, missing one front tooth, holding a homemade card that said "Best Dad Ever" in messy marker with hearts everywhere. I stared at it for a long time, then put everything back into the box and locked it like evidence in a closed case. My phone buzzed. Marcus texted. I saw the brunch photos. "You okay?" He replied, "Fine." Closing the last loose ends. The last loose end was something I've been holding back on, some tiny part of me still waiting for Mia to call and apologize, or at least acknowledge what she'd done. She didn't. So I logged into the rental agency portal for Mia's apartment. 2 years earlier I'd signed as her guarantor because she didn't have enough credit history. Legally, I was the safety net. I drafted an email to the property manager withdrawing my guarantor status following the proper procedure. That meant they'd need Dylan to step in, or Mia would need to relocate. Then I opened a different folder, the commercial leases for my laundromat locations. 3 of those properties were managed through Dylan's real estate firm, Price and Vale Properties. Dylan himself had handled 2 of the deals. I called the senior agent at the firm, a woman named Nina, and I almost laughed at the irony because my life had suddenly become a collection of ironic details. "Graham, great to hear from you," she said. "What can I do?" I kept my tone neutral. "I'm thinking about consolidating, possibly relocating a couple of sites. How much notice do I need to give if I choose not to renew?" There was a pause while she checked. 2 of them require 90 days. The third is month to month. "Perfect," I said, just exploring options. "Thanks." I had no immediate plan to move, but Dylan didn't know that. And when those renewal dates came up, I'd decide based on how the next few weeks unfolded. Family who believed in us, I thought. Let's see how strong belief is when the foundation starts shifting. It took me 5 days to notice. 5 full days of silence before my phone finally lit up with her name. I was in my main shop refilling the change machine when it buzzed in my pocket. I let it ring twice more than necessary, then answered in my most professional voice. "Graham Cole speaking." "Dad," Mia said, and she sounded stressed, like her world was suddenly moving too fast. "I've been trying to reach you." "Oh yeah," I said, feeding coins into the machine. "I haven't seen any missed calls." I texted, she snapped. I hadn't responded, because her texts weren't apologies. One was a silly meme about marriage. Another asked if I could recommend a good dry cleaner for Dylan's suits. Like nothing happened. Like I wasn't sitting there with my chest cracked open. "What can I do for you, Mia?" I asked, calm distant. She exhaled sharply. "Something's wrong. The rent payment bounced. The landlord emailed me, super rude, talking about late fees. I checked my account, and the money just isn't there. Did something happen with the transfer?" I didn't flinch. "Nothing happened," I said. I stopped doing it. Silence. "You what?" "I'm not paying your rent anymore," I said. "Why would you do that?" she demanded. Did I do something? The question was so absurd, I almost laughed. As if excluding me from her wedding was a minor oversight. "Mia," I said, steady, "you got married and didn't tell me. You didn't invite me. You told me it was only for special people." I thought a lot about that phrase. And I've decided that if I'm not special enough to be part of your important moments, then I'm not special enough to fund them. Her voice turned defensive instantly. "Are you serious right now? Are you punishing me because of the wedding?" "I'm not punishing you," I said. "I'm adjusting my financial commitments to match the relationship we actually have, not the one I imagined." She started yelling. "This is insane. You're being petty." Petty, I repeated softly. Interesting word. Quick question, Mia. How much is your rent? You know how much. Tell me. Euro 150, she said, like it hurt to say it. And the car payment? Around 375 euros. You see what I mean? I said quietly. You didn't even say it like it was real, because you've never had to carry it. I handled it, so long you don't understand what your life costs. That changes now. Her voice shifted, cracking a little as she tried a new approach. Please, Dylan and I are tight right now. The wedding cost more than we expected, and he's waiting on a big commission that doesn't come in until next month. We can't cover the rent and everything else. Can you just cover it this once? I'll pay you back. That line, I'll pay you back, was a greatest hit. She'd used it for years. She'd never followed through once. No, I said. I can't. You can't or you won't, she spat. Both, I answered. You chose who your family is. Now I'm choosing mine. You're unbelievable, she snapped. You do this over a wedding? My voice hardened. This isn't about one dinner and a signature. This is about 21 years of being your father and learning it meant nothing when it mattered. You erased me, Mia. Don't act shocked when I stop showing up. I heard a muffled sob, then a long silence where neither of us spoke, like we were both standing at the edge of something burned beyond repair. Finally, she said, ice cold, fine. We'll handle ourselves. We don't need you. Good, I said. Then this shouldn't be a problem. I ended the call before she could throw more words at me. 10 days later, she called again. I was eating dinner in a neighborhood cafe with wooden tables and coffee that never stopped refilling. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. Yes, Mia, I said, using her name with no warmth. Dad, she said, and her voice was tight, stretched thin. The rent is overdue, my university payment is overdue, and they've put a hold on my enrollment. You forgot to make the transfer. I took a slow sip of coffee. Did I forget? I asked calmly. Or did I tell you I was stepping back? I thought you were just mad, she said. I thought you'd cool off. This isn't anger, I said, setting the cup down carefully. This is clarity. You showed me exactly where I stand. I am responding accordingly. Her breathing sped up. The landlord is threatening eviction. The school blocked my registration for next term. Dylan's commission still hasn't landed. We're drowning. Please, can you help us one time? No, I said. I can't. You can't or you won't. Both, I said again, and this time it wasn't a debate. You have a husband. You have your mother. You have all those special people who were important enough to witness your wedding. Ask them. She let out a shaky breath, then exploded. So you're really going to let me lose my apartment and my education over a wedding? My voice went steel. I'm not doing anything to you. These are consequences. You chose to exclude me. You chose to pretend I didn't matter. Now you're choosing to face life without my support. Those are your choices. I can't believe you're this cold, she hissed. And I couldn't believe you got married without telling me, I said. I guess we're both learning new things. There was a pause, then she dropped a poison dart. Mom warned me about you. She said you'd use money to control me. That one landed. Renee was still whispering lies in Mia's ear after all these years. I took a breath. Your mother hasn't contributed a single euro to your life in nearly 2 decades, I said slowly. She has no idea what I've done for you, or why. And if you believe her version over the decades I spent showing up, then we have nothing left to talk about. Her voice broke. Okay, she whispered. We'll do it without you. You will, I said, and I hung up, feeling something shift permanently inside me. Not regret, not satisfaction, just an ending. The bridge wasn't just burning. It was gone. Meanwhile, Marjorie, Dylan's aunt, wasn't the kind of woman who missed patterns. She'd spent decades as a legal assistant, and details were her superpower. When something didn't add up, she couldn't let it go. At the brunch, she noticed the careful omissions, the way questions were dodged, the way Renee strutted around telling childhood stories that didn't quite fit. That night she did what professionals do. She investigated. She scrolled through Mia's social media like it was a case file. She found an old album titled My Hero from several years back, full of photos of Mia with a man Marjorie hadn't seen at the brunch and never heard mentioned, me. There I was at Mia's graduation, helping her move into student housing, teaching her to drive, showing up again and again. Marjorie kept scrolling and found a post from 3 years earlier. Mia thanking me for helping her finish school, calling me the best dad, saying she couldn't have done it without me. Marjorie opened a new tab and searched my name, found my business, Cole Clean Centers, 5 locations and a solid reputation. Then found a community post thanking me for donating 12,000 euros to a scholarship fund in honor of Mia's graduation. Marjorie leaned back, and the pieces snapped together with a click. This man raised her, paid her education, supported her life, and he wasn't at the wedding, not at the brunch, not even mentioned. So Marjorie called Dylan's father, Harold Price, and asked him a simple question that turned into a storm. "Harold," she said, "who paid for that wedding, really?" Harold hesitated. "Well, Dylan and Mia covered most of it. I think Mia's mother helped with some costs." Marjorie's voice went dark. "Graham Cole paid the venue deposit. He raised Mia. He paid her school, her car, her apartment. He's her adoptive father. And your family just watched Renee play saint while the man who did everything was erased." Harold went quiet. "Dylan told us Mia's dad wasn't in the picture," he said. "Then either Dylan was lied to," Marjorie replied, "or he chose not to ask. Either way, your son needs to know what kind of person he married. Because if Mia can do this to the man who raised her, what will she do to Dylan when it benefits her?" That same evening, Dylan sat with his father and Marjorie in his parents' living room. On the coffee table was a folder full of screenshots and photos, a timeline of my life with Mia. Dylan flipped through it, face draining. "This can't be real," he muttered. "Mia told me her father left when she was little, that her mom did everything." Marjorie leaned in. "Mia lied. Graham adopted her when she was 3. He paid for everything, including the 3,200 euro deposit for your venue. The wedding he wasn't invited to." Dylan's hands shook as he turned another page. "But Mia said her mom covered the deposit," he whispered. "Renee hasn't paid a cent in almost 20 years, Marjorie said, showing him the post of Mia praising me for paying off her loans. Harold spoke quietly, heavy with meaning. "Son, if she can rewrite her past like this, if she can erase the person who gave her everything, what else is she hiding?" Dylan stood up and paced, raking his hands through his hair. "I have to talk to her," he said. Marjorie rose too. "Before you do," she added, pointed, "understand something else. Your firm manages 3 of Graham's commercial leases. Those are major accounts. Those renewals are coming up soon. And if I were Graham, I'd move that business somewhere else without losing a minute of sleep." Dylan stopped pacing like he'd hit a wall. His marriage, his finances, his career, suddenly it all felt like it was built on sand. That night he went home and found Mia at the kitchen table with her laptop open, surrounded by bills, late notices, bank statements, and credit card reminders. She looked up, eyes wild. "Not now, Dylan," she said. "I'm trying to figure out the rent. My dad still hasn't transferred." "Don't call him that," Dylan cut in. Mia blinked. "What?" "Don't call Graham dad after what you did," Dylan said, and shoved his phone in front of her face. A picture of teenage Mia and me at graduation. "Who is this?" Mia's gaze flicked away. "That's Graham. I told you about him." "No," Dylan said, voice rising. "You told me your father wasn't in your life. You told me you were independent. But he adopted you, paid your education, your car, your apartment, and he paid the deposit for our venue, and you didn't invite him." Mia shoved her chair back, the legs screeching. "Who told you this?" "Does it matter?" Dylan snapped. "It's true, isn't it?" She crossed her arms, defensive. "It's complicated." "No," Dylan said. "It's not. You lied to me. You let my family praise your mother while the man who raised you was erased." Mia's eyes filled with tears, and she went for the familiar excuse. "My real mother wanted to be there," she said. "It mattered to her. And Graham always used money to make me feel like I owed him." "Used money?" Dylan laughed, bitter and sharp. "He paid everything and asked for nothing. That's not control. That's support. And you threw him away like trash. So you're on his side now," she cried. "I'm trying to understand who I married," Dylan said, voice shaking with anger. "Because the woman I thought I knew wouldn't do that." He grabbed his keys. "I'm staying at my parents' tonight. I need time." "Dylan, please. Do you even understand what you did?" he said, turning back. "Graham isn't some random guy you can ignore. He's my firm's biggest client. 3 locations, Mia. 3 major accounts. When those leases renew in 8 weeks, he's gone." Mia's face went white. "He wouldn't," she whispered. Dylan stared at her like he didn't recognize her. Why not? You told me he didn't matter. Congratulations. Now you're about to learn exactly how much he matters. Dylan walked out, and the door closed behind him, leaving Mia alone with unpaid bills and the ruins of the life she thought she was building. 3 weeks later, she got an envelope with no return address, just the embossed name of a law office in the corner. Inside were 2 documents. The first was Dylan's petition to dissolve the marriage, citing major deception about finances and family relationships before the wedding. The second was worse, a formal letter from my attorney. Several wedding guests who'd given gifts had been contacted and informed of the situation, that I'd financed Mia's education, housing, and even the venue deposit while being deliberately excluded. Some guests now felt their gifts were given under false pretenses. A handful demanded returns or reimbursement. The total wasn't enormous, around €1,950, but Mia didn't have it. Her hands shook as she read. Then her phone rang. "Renee, did you get a letter from a lawyer?" Renee asked, voice tight. "Yeah," Mia whispered. "Me too," Renee snapped. "They're telling me to stop spreading the story that Graham was controlling, or they'll escalate it. Listen, Mia, there's no we here. I'm not taking heat because you decided to burn bridges with your golden goose. Mia es se trotaitent. What do we do?" "You do," Renee corrected. "You fix it. Alone." The line went dead. Mia sat in her half-empty apartment. Dylan had taken most of his things, staring at legal papers while her university status was suspended. Her landlord started eviction steps. Her credit cards were maxed, and now even wedding guests wanted money back. She opened her laptop and searched my name. My personal profile was private, but my business page was public. There was a photo posted the day before, me standing beside a young woman in a graduation gown, both smiling. The caption said I was proud to support another hardworking student through the Cole Scholarship Fund, and congratulations to Leah for earning her nursing degree. The comments were full of praise, people thanking me for supporting students who value family and effort. Mia felt something break in a way that couldn't be repaired. I had moved forward. I had found purpose without pain. She opened a new message to me, typed, "I'm sorry," stared at it for 10 minutes, then deleted it. Because sorry doesn't pay rent. Sorry doesn't undo erasing someone. Sorry doesn't rebuild a bridge you burned with gasoline. Months later, I stood in the parking lot of my newest laundromat, watching workers finish installing the exterior sign. It was on the other side of Valemont, far from the orbit of Dylan's firm. I'd moved my leases, shifted my property management, rebuilt the business with different partners, quietly and methodically, over time. Marcus walked up holding 2 coffees. "Looks good, Graham," he said, handing me one. "Thanks," I replied. "We'll open next month." He hesitated, then asked carefully, "Any word about Mia?" I shook my head. "Nothing for a long time." Marcus nodded. "Last I heard, she moved back in with Renee, took a retail job, and Dylan's petition went through. He remarried recently, someone from his community." Marjorie sent a photo. "He looks lighter." "Good," I said. "He deserved better." My phone buzzed. A text from Leah. "Mr. Cole, I just got my first paycheck. Lunch is on me. No excuses." I smiled, because Leah reminded me of the person I once thought Mia would become. Grateful, hardworking, real. She wasn't a replacement. Nobody could replace the years, but she and the other scholarship students gave me something I didn't have anymore, a reason to give without being used. Marcus looked at me and said, "You did the right thing." I exhaled. "It doesn't always feel right," I admitted, "but it was necessary." On the drive home, I passed the street where Mia used to live. I didn't slow down. I didn't look. That night, I opened my office closet and stared at the locked memory box I filed away months earlier. I thought about throwing it out 100 times, but I couldn't. Maybe one day I will. Or maybe I'll keep it as a reminder, not of what I lost, but of what I learned. That love without respect becomes exploitation. That generosity without gratitude turns into entitlement. And that being a father sometimes means knowing when to hold on and when to let go. I'll lock the box again, put it back, and then confirm my attendance at next month's scholarship dinner. 20 students this year, 20 young people who understood what receiving help actually means. Life kept moving, and I moved with it. Thanks for listening all the way to the end. If this story hit you in any way, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment what part affected you the most. And don't forget to tell me where you're listening from, because I read the comments and it helps the channel more than you think.